Donk Nation, Jackson Jennets, greetings and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. We got a new title for the off-season talk. We're going to go ahead and say this is some nonsensical Steelers talk, Gingy, and thank you for putting that word in my head. I appreciate it. How you doing, by the way?
Here, Mutant Ginny in the house, nonsensical donkey, taking it back, original. We hanging out, we talking Steelers. Interesting stuff happening this week, donkey, in my opinion.
There is some interesting things. I know there's a couple stories you want to get into, so I'll let you lead it off, and if you don't touch on what I want to talk about, of course, I'll bring it up loud, angry, and I don't know, with a happy smile on my face, because that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I want to talk about that missing Steelers playbook that was out there in the wild for a minute. Kenny Pickett SUV getting stolen at a dealership event in Monroeville? What? Somebody get some security on that man, especially with that precious cargo riding in there.
I'm going to be honest with you, Matt Canada doesn't really hide much of what he was doing, at least he didn't last year. So maybe it was just a big ploy to get people confused on the future of the Steelers by thinking they know what we're going to do.
That playbook is probably rocking and rolling this year, Donkey. We got an upgraded year 2 quarterback coming in with experience, Donkey. Come on, man. We got that playbook has got to be at least as thick as your average adult coloring book, if not thicker.
Are you saying we're past the remember the Titans era of just 4 plays and I run these 4 plays and if you run them right, you're going to win the game?
I think we're beyond the one sheet era. You know, the Excel spreadsheet that you can print off on one page? I think that we were running that before. I think like I said, I think we're up to at least 3 or 4 pages now.
Fair enough. So, Gingy, any other fun topics outside of cars, playbooks, and all sorts of utter shenanigans happening?
Shenanigans indeed, Donkey. Hearing from Steelers from the past. Did you catch anything about an interview with Le'Veon Bell?
No, when you said Steelers from the past, I thought you were going to bring up that Ben Roethlisberger wanted Kenny Pickett to fail because that's the kind of guy Ben Roethlisberger is.
That's worthy of talking about. We can put that on the list. Bell. But this Le'Veon Bell admitting some level of pettiness and regret in regards to the way that he handled the Steelers' negotiation talks seemed a bit regretful. Seemed that if it was to go again, you know, if that were to happen again, he probably would have gone a different way about it. Everybody kind of thought that at the time, and the career sort of fell off after that. So it's interesting to see a guy look on that in retrospect, in perspective, and have a totally different take than what was initially had there from him.
I'll be honest. Yeah, he's a guy whose career has ended, so he's looking back, looking where it went wrong, look at what he could have done better, right? That's probably where you're at. He's a guy who had the wrong people in his ears. He's the guy who had people in his ears telling him, but you're a wide receiver, dude. You're a wide receiver. No, you're not. You were a power back who could catch the football a little bit. You weren't bad at it, and compared to other power backs, you were good at it. You were like a hybrid between a Derrick Henry pure power back and, I don't know, a Jeff Wilson who's more of a receiver out of the backfield, who really is a receiver. And he just listened to the wrong people. That led to some weird debates going on. And unfortunately for Le'Veon Bell, he was the best player on the team, but he played a position that doesn't get paid. And people were telling him, but you need to get paid. And the thing is, once he lost his leverage with the Steelers, the people told him the decision to make, which was the wrong one, which was, of course, sitting out the season. Because once you're a running back and you become a forgotten entity, what happens to you, Gingy?
Can definitely accumulate some rust.
Not just that, you become forgotten. This is a league of, if a running back has a bad year, they're done. Like, if you're not the hot topic when you're on the market, no one wants you. You don't believe that? Look at Philip Lindsay. He had to go to the XFL to find someone willing to let him play. That's a guy who, 2 years ago had a 1,000-yard season?
Le'Veon did get an immediate shot on the Jets, but did not thrive in that offense.
Yeah, I guess if you really want to go ruin your career, you can go to the Jets. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers, but
I was gonna say, what are you saying about Aaron Rodgers next, donkey?
oh, this is
Ruined?
what I will say about Aaron Rodgers. He is remember, we had this talk last week. He is the exact articulate of my opinion, right? That once you pay a quarterback, you can't win. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest example of that. And when I say can't win, of course, I don't mean regular season games. I mean Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be that next GOAT, right, Gingy?
Yeah, I mean,
when was the last time he went to a
allegedly.
Super Bowl? When he beat the Steelers? He might have been the one after
Yeah.
that. I'm not a big Green Bay fan, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm glad to hear Le'Veon's able. This is what I like to see. I'm glad to see Le'Veon Bell's able to look back and admit mistakes he made, unlike a different former Steeler who just seems to be talked about all the time still for all the wrong reasons. And I'll tell you what, they led one of the most entertaining eras of Steeler football. Say what you want, Gingy. Them, along with Ben, led a very entertaining era of Steelers football.
I don't disagree at all, donkey. And speaking of that fella, who I think I'm going to just say and assume that we're talking about Antonio Brown here, right?
Of course we are, yes.
Yeah, I figured as much. And what, realistically, maybe not even realistically, maybe just in the dark depths in the corner of Donkey's mind,
Don't go there.
does he end up in a locker room for a team for a playoff or a playoff push this season? Do you think somebody lets him back into the NFL?
No. And pure reason I say that is once he goes for getting to the NFL, he ended on a suspension, right? So he still has to be reinstated at some point, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's where
Sure
you might run
works.
into a problem. Or maybe it's not, because maybe he did serve that suspension while he was. Because I think you're allowed to serve suspensions while you're not on a team, which is really awkward and neither here nor there. And since it wasn't a drug related one, he doesn't actually need reinstatement. But no, I don't think anyone in the world brings that into their locker room. I mean, look how much trouble Odell Beckham Jr. had trying to hook onto a team for a playoff run. And he's a guy who isn't a cancer necessarily, and he's a guy who was coming off helping the Rams win a Super Bowl. I don't believe fiery guys are cancers. That's be like saying Baker Mayfield's a cancer. I don't really believe that. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. to me has never thrown a teammate under a bus. And say what you want, he went to the Rams and they don't win the Super Bowl without him.
I don't know what it's like in a professional locker room. I couldn't imagine a whole bunch of grown men being able to deal with a ton of antics all the time. You'd have to have real strong leadership or coaching or something there to supplement him if he's acting like that. Or maybe not. I'm not in there, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to think of professional athletes and, really responsible people. And if he's, carrying on about himself, I can't see a team like that.
There's not a whole lot of wide receivers you're going to get me to say are not prima donnas. Because if this is what I'll say, if you think Odell Beckham Jr. is a cancer, then you have to think Tyreek Hill's a cancer, right?
Tyreek Hill? Why? Really?
Tyreek Hill has antics on the field. He talks about how great he is, just like Odell Beckham Jr. And don't forget, Tyreek Hill actually has some domestic battery in his background that made him not a first-round type of draft pick. So that's a guy with a lot more baggage than Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. is more of the I'm on the sideline playing antics, more of the Juju Smith-Schuster type of antics, right? Except he's not really a TikTok star, but those similar style of antics.
Yeah, I could see that. But I think that's that's the way of the next generation of players in the NFL, I believe.
Every one of these has a phone glued to their hands and glued to recording every move they make. Yeah,
that's good branding,
worse,
Donkey.
Right,
that's good branding.
Wrong. Now, Gingy, there is some Steelers news I really want to get into. It's a guy I've talked about. He's been a free agent 2 the last 3 years, if not all 3. And I've talked about him coming to join the Steelers multiple times. and that is Marcus Golden, I believe I have that name right. Outside linebacker, played last year at Arizona. Only had, I think, 2 or 3 sacks, but this is what I'm going to tell you. He's a big guy at 270 who sets the edge, whose pass rush numbers, pressure-wise, are better than his sack numbers. If you look at his pressure rate, he almost pressures the same amount as Alex Highsmith. But here's the biggest difference. So ESPN, thank goodness someone finally tracks this stat, has a stat they call stuffs. And a stuff is a running play where you stop the running back behind the line of scrimmage. You want to know what Golden is great at? Stuffs. He had almost, I believe, triple the number of stuffs of Alex Highsmith and played in a few fewer snaps. This is the type of guy I wanted, a guy who can come in, and when the Steelers are having that troublesome day because the team's running it down your throat, he's a guy that can take the spot of TJ Watt, can take the spot of Alex Highsmith, and provide that ability to set an edge that we currently lack, and I view as a great depth piece at outside linebacker.
Here, I buy it, Donkey. I mean, you can't get too much depth at outside linebacker, as you can see in today's league, I think, and
at least not when you play a 3-4. But, Gingy, this is what brings up my secondary point. The Steelers, in my opinion, have done a great job of building depth, of building this roster. But there's been one glaring hole that we have talked about for probably 2 straight seasons. And this hole just got a little bigger in my view. And, of course, that hole is traditionally a great Steelers place to play, inside linebacker. And the reason I say this is we signed a special teams guy and Holcomb coming off a knee injury. I thought, you know what? The reason we haven't signed an inside linebacker, the reason we didn't draft an inside linebacker is we brought in Tay Crowder last year, a guy who played for the Giants, had a couple hundred tackle seasons, really struggled the last 2 years, though. I thought they brought him in, and they were like, you know what? We see something here. We like him. He's a guy we're going to run with going forward, not currently with, though. But they just cut Tay Crowder, along with Master Teague, which makes me really sad because dude had the name of a champion. It should have been our third running back, neither here nor there. But cutting Tay Crowder now leaves that depth chart as, was it Roberts, Holcomb, who else we bring in? Tanner Muse, and of course Mark Robinson's a holdover. But if you watch Robinson, yeah, the instincts are good, but he gets himself out of position because he's only played middle linebacker for 2 years. I love what Andy Weidel and Omar Khan have done. I should start saying Omar Khan first since he is the GM. But I can't help but feel on the inside linebacker, we are just missing the boat. I know we brought in Quan Alexander sometime in the last 2 weeks for a visit, but clearly the medicals didn't match up there, or we would have probably given him a deal. I feel that is a spot you cannot go into the season praying that this works unless for some reason the guy I can't think of who we signed to replace Terrell Edmonds is going to play a lot of middle linebacker. But then that just opens us up to the biggest bugaboo we had, which is not being able to stop the run. I really feel nervous about the fact that we haven't addressed middle linebacker, Gingy.
Yeah, still a gap there, and I think that you initially stated, I think 2 years, and I think that might even be a bit of a stretch there. It might even be a little bit longer than that. It's
whenever Devin Bush got hurt.
Yeah, we're vulnerable over the middle, and I don't see anything that we've done to address that or fix that either. No, Donkey.
It's kind of a weird feel when you look at what they've done in this offseason. I mean, we said they had a problem at tackle. They go out and get, in my opinion, my favorite tackle in the draft. We said they have a problem, they need another depth piece in the catching game. We draft a tight end. They need to add another interior lineman. They go out and sign Samalu, who, by the way, I don't know if you read what Kelsey said about him. Of course, Jason, not Travis. But he said he's the smartest, most physical lineman he's ever got to play beside. High praise from a guy like Kelsey who's been around and been a Pro Bowler for such a long time. You see them make these good additions. You see an addition like Robert or Golden out there. You see a draft pick on Herbig's little brother coming in to be an outside linebacker. You see the addition on the corners while we lose some, but we bring in Patrick Peterson, we bring in Shaw Dean, we bring in Joey Porter Jr., we bring in Corey Trice. I really want to say Obi Trice every time You say that?
I see why.
And then safety-wise, sure, we lose Terrell Evans, but we bring back KZ. We signed Keanu Neal. There we go, got the name. We brought in a kicker to compete with Boswell. We brought in a punter to compete with Harvin. Like, everything seemed like it's a slam dunk, but what in the world do they see in this middle linebacker position that we don't?
I don't know, Donkey. I don't know. Maybe we just feel we're strong enough in the other areas to try to mask it.
Is Mark Robinson the savior we all need, Gingy?
He might be. Okay, I mean, I remember speaking his name a couple times last season in a very positive light, if I'm not mistaken.
When he saw the field, he did look like he could be a downhill thumper. My biggest question is, does that work in the modern day NFL? And what do his coverage skills look like since he was never allowed to cover anything? To be fair, I don't think any of our middle linebackers covered anything all last year.
I don't think so
either. As a matter of fact, I got a text from the noob tard, the goat tard, the Zoidberg, whatever he wants to call himself now. I got a text from my brother, right? And he goes, "Hey, Spillane made his best play in coverage ever. The ball hit him in the butt." It was the truest thing.
That sounds about right.
I mean, God bless it, Gingy. It's that time of the offseason you have to talk about something, but I really, you know what? There was a signing like Golden this late in the offseason. Why can't there be a a capable name signing going on here a little later for the Steelers? I mean, there has to be someone out there at middle linebacker who can still play. I don't know who it is, but Gingy, let's change topics now. We talked about middle linebacker enough.
Okay.
Any of these bigger name free agents catch your eye any? I'm talking the names like Zeke Elliott, Kenny Golladay, guys who have had past successes that currently are available for whatever reason. Is there any of those names out there that maybe interest you of the Steelers bringing in for look-see, let's say?
Well, we already have ourselves a first-round running back that needs to work. So Zeke Elliott is a hard pass for me. Kenny Golladay. I don't know. That's not the most terrible name, but I really just think we're if we need a pickup right now, Donkey, it's got to be on the defensive side of the ball. Who's out there on the defense?
We could bring back Wormley. There's
Okay.
a couple names out there, but honestly, I didn't even think about looking at the defense side because I was looking, the names that always catch you are the fun offensive explosion names.
Oh,
so
the explosion. Yeah, okay.
Not well versed on the defensive ones.
Golladay would definitely be another fun addition to an action-packed wide receiver core.
As long as he's not the New York version of Golladay, it's the Detroit one. I agree. Preferably without the injuries, though. But I guess if you put him and Robinson together, maybe you get a full season.
That would work for me.
And Gingy, your favorite Pittsburgh Steeler came back, and I haven't got to talk to you about it yet. Ooh. Mason Rudolph, baby.
Oh boy, we still got 3 quarterbacks signed on the what? What? That goes against capable. Everything that we talked about.
Not starters, but starter capable too. All 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, was that really the plan all along, Donkey? Like, we didn't really talk about that as the possibility, really, did we?
No, and I like it. I thought there was 0 chance in the world Mason Rudolph would ever come back, even if he didn't get another offer from another team. But, hey, I love it. I feel Mason Rudolph was the better of the 2 backups. But then I'm like, so that means we're going to go ahead and cut Trubisky to save money, right? No! Gingy! Extension? Mitch Trubisky?
That's what I'm saying. We have 3 game day capable quarterbacks on the roster. That I didn't see that coming, Donkey. I don't know why, but I suppose we feel like the assets necessary, and the longer the season becomes, and the fact that we get 2 Thursday games, I guess they're predicting maybe a little bit of turmoil along the way. I don't know.
Gingy, you just brought me to the my creme de la creme point of the day. Flex scheduling on Thursday Night Football. How the hell drunk are you to make that a thing? It's okay though. We have to give you 30 days notice. Cool. Let's just screw every fan who comes out of state to go see their favorite team play. Let's just forget any fans at all who are going to the game because Gingy, football is no longer about being at the game, being part of the game. Football is about putting a product on TV. And this absolutely showcases that TV money, TV revenue is the only thing the NFL cares about.
And I think it really became their main. I mean, once we went through COVID and we went through a season or two of very empty stadiums, NFL had to adjust their revenue sources. You know, they were hemorrhaging money not being able to fill them seats with butts. Now people are back, and the focus is sort of gone from that experience to, like you said, where the money is coming from now, to that experience. Amazon Prime, Thursday Night Football. Ooh, like, that's where we're at.
Gingy, I want to have an honest talk here about that. Is it the fact that Amazon Prime paid $1 jillion for Thursday Night Football that we now have flex scheduling? Is that purely because Amazon Prime had a deal that would happen if they didn't get exclusive rights to NFL Sunday Ticket? So is it the fact that YouTube TV got NFL Sunday Ticket that led to Thursday Night Flex schedule?
It's not out of the question, Donkey. I see the dots that are connected there, and I don't know. I'm just doing nonsensical Steelers talk, Donkey. Those are big questions, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Gingy, this is what off-season football talk is about. It's about conspiracies. It's about Roger Goodell letting Bill Belichick deflate footballs and tape practices. Okay,
you want conspiracy, Donkey?
Yes, I do.
How about we just ban the Patriots for continuing to cheat and not care?
Robert Kraft gets Goodell way too much of a good time for that to ever be a thing that happened.
That's funny.
But the better question is, Bill Belichick without Tom Brady, is it even relevant to talk about the Patriots anymore?
Dang, I don't know. AFC East is pretty thick. They're battling for the bottom of the division, Donkey. They got turmoil in QB land, in my opinion. I don't know if Mac Jones, he the guy up there for real.
I think Mac Jones could be the guy. The bigger problem is Bill Belichick can't get anyone who's worth a darn to come play with him because he's such an inappropriate word, I guess is what we'll say. Try to keep this a little PG the way I'm talking today. Don't judge me too hard.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, that's some fun stuff going on up there. What did they get caught for cheating this time? I know it was something, but I didn't really pay attention to anything other than the headline.
Still, I don't know. They lost some OTAs. I know that. In terms of
did they put pads on too early? Because you're never allowed to touch pads.
I think that's what happened. There was some sort of facility or, some sort of athletic.
The coaches were in the meeting room when the coaches were not allowed to be in a meeting room. That is a violation, and you will now forfeit 5 NCAA scholarships, which doesn't matter because you will just pay those kids under the table. Oh, wait, you're allowed to pay them over the table now, right?
You guys are going to say those kids get paid now in some places.
In almost every place. Let's. All right, let's go completely off. Last topic of the day. Gingy, your thought, college sports about to become 3 super conferences and then everybody else?
Yeah, that sounds about right. But that's what I was meaning, Donkey. There's a large portion of revenue that's drawing a lot of kids to certain places. See a lot of kids in the South making some money down there in the SEC.
You see Deion Sanders and all the boosters in Colorado literally bringing in a whole new 90-man football roster.
Yeah, whatever Deion's doing out there is weird. I don't know. I'm
going to be honest with
you.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of a coach coming in, taking over a roster, and then telling all those kids they don't have a spot on the roster anymore. Kind of a d-bag move. But then I'm kind of also a believer that if the kid wants to transfer, they shouldn't get punished. The coach should get punished. So how I've always felt is if you transfer schools to get the money or whatever, you should be allowed to play the second half of the season, but you shouldn't be allowed to play the first half of the season after whatever year you transfer. Because then essentially what you do is you let the kids still go out there and put on tape, but you tell the coaches, hey, your first half of the year is going to suck. And I just think that would be funny. Because I'm not a huge fan of all these transfers and all these schools just paying to get money kids from other schools. Although I do like the idea of kids getting money. But Gingy, last point, it's all yours. Kids getting money, good thing, bad thing. Second part, kids getting money, should it be regulated how much they can earn?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think that they gotta earn the money. The business is too big now for the folks who are producing the product to be completely cut out of the end product and what that product produces. I don't think that that's fair, but to make an 18 or a 19-year-old kid a multimillionaire while they're trying to go to school and get an education, and I don't know if that's their path in life, that's a tough one, Donkey. That's a tough one. They in a capitalist society, they earn the money. You ought to give it to them.
If coaches
Should
are worth
they
$10
have
million,
it?
players should be worth something.
I mean,
Also, as Cardell Jones would tell you, Gingy, I didn't go to school, or wait, what was it? I didn't come here to play no school. I think that was the line. And I liked his quote saying it about Stetson Bennett, as apparently Stetson Bennett in 6 years has not graduated an undergrad program yet. And Cardell Jones goes out and says he clearly didn't go to college to play no school.
Well, and some of these guys don't, I suppose, and I think that's why that's the part though when you're paying them and they didn't really go there to go to the school in the first place. That's where you think there ought to be some sort of pipeline to a D League. I have that in USFL, but
I've said this before. The way the XFL or USFL succeeded was they would pay college or the best quarterbacks coming out of high school to go to them for 3 years. So you'd watch the young developmental kids. And right as soon as I said that, you know what happened? College football goes out and says, we're paying kids now. And I'm like, man, there goes the chance at any minor league football. Because the only chance you had was, let's be honest, Gingy, college is minor league football now. That's all it is.
Pretty much.
At least for the big schools, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the USCs, the Texas, the Michigan, Ohio States,
Big money schools, big programs. Lots of kids going there. Yeah, I hear you, Donkey. That's pretty much what it is. But it's weird, though, because it is. It's like a farm league, but golly, they don't set it up like that. You know what I mean? If you try to compare, like, minor league baseball to major league baseball and then college football to pro football, that doesn't work.
I hear what you're saying. I really do, but there's been a few kids that are selected from minor league baseball and then end up in the pros in the first year. I guess you could say it's actually very, very similar in terms of once you get into minor league system, if you're a good player, in 3 years you'll be in the pros. In 4 years, if it takes you a little longer, that's kind of like college football. If you're a great prospect in high school, in 3 years you can get drafted. In 4 years, you definitely will get drafted, or else you weren't really a great prospect, and then you have to work your way up through the system. A la Stetson Bennett gets himself drafted after 6 years, right?
I suppose that's not out of the question. I suppose. But I mean, I feel the environment and the atmosphere with which the games are played. You know what I mean? Like the offenses and the way that college football runs doesn't necessarily prepare you for a pro experience after 3-4 years, right? When you're in the minors and you go to the pros, yeah, the game is bigger, faster, stronger, but it's not more complicated. You know what I mean?
I don't know if
The
you can really
college
go more
offense.
complicated. I guess what you're trying to say here, and this is the way I will look at it. I understand what you're saying, but my counter would be the Georgias, the Alabamas, the USCs are AAA baseball, okay? Those are the
Yes.
ones who you come from, you're pro ready. Whereas,
Yes.
let's say TCU, a smaller school, Memphis, something like that, that's more like single A baseball. Sometimes
But
kids
then
do
you
get called up from them, and the learning curve is steeper for them. But
but then
I
you
see what
look
you're
at any
saying.
Ohio State quarterback and their performance in the NFL. Great, fantastic
Hey,
college
Justin
performances,
Fields is
national
running all
championships.
over the place. Okay.
Okay. Bears gonna go to the Super
He
Bowl.
is. I
Bears
didn't
gonna
say
go
he
to the
was
Super Bowl.
throwing. First off, I never said he was throwing the ball well. I said he's running all over the place. Come on now, don't skew this.
That's where I'm coming from on that. Is there are some instances in which great college performers and performances do not automatically translate. And that's in every sport, obviously. But
Yeah,
I'm thinking
obviously, I could.
it particularly
Do
is
you want me
glaring
to
in the
name
NFL.
you all the Pirates who are great in AAA and then fail in the majors? Because I have a list that's probably longer than our show should be.
Yes. Well, that's the Pirates, right? It's because the
That's
Pirates make their
every. Hold on, that's
Pirates get their
every
pirate
baseball
stink
team,
all
and the
over
reason.
them, and then just corrupts them.
No, that's just like everything in baseball. Like they put out the top 100 prospect list every year, right? There's just supposed to be the top 100 players in minor league baseball. You know how many of those end up being like superstars? Maybe like 10. And a lot of times the surefire can't miss guys flame out terribly bad. You can look back at guys like Chris Benson. You can look at guys who never really made it super far, like Jameson Tyon, Charlie Morton. You could go other teams too, Raul Mondesi Jr. I mean, there's all sorts of the same things here. But I get what you're saying. It definitely is a different environment. But I feel college football preps players better for the big experience than minor league baseball, just because look how few minor or first time players have that huge impact in baseball. Okay, how few rookies lead teams. Look at football, rookies can lead teams. I mean, George Pickens was our best receiver last year. Kenny Pickett took over at quarterback. These kids come in and they're able to step in and day one be difference makers. TJ Watt, look at the year he had. Ryan Shazier, Devin Bush's best year was his first year before he got hurt. So I absolutely understand what you're saying and the difference of them, but I feel we might as well just call college football minors or the minor league, since that's what this whole thing started on, right? Is whether or not we can actually call it the minors.
Yeah. Whether it was a D league or not, for sure.
Yeah, and I think everyone out there, you got to hear it. You heard two absolutely polarizing opposite takes on that. Let us know what your opinion is. Do you think college football is the developmental league for the NFL, or do you think there is a space in there for a developmental league, a la minor league baseball? Fair way to put these two perspectives, Gingy?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Gingy, any closing thoughts to you before we get to shout outs?
I'm good with it.
All right, Gingy, do you have a shout out?
I do not. Very nonsensical.
You're just gonna go with that. All right, I do have a shout out, and it is to the Steelers for finally bringing in Golden, adding another pass rusher, and to all the newly signed Steelers, including the undrafted rookie. I think we signed to a 3-year deal. I have to go look at his name, but man, that's something. If I really read what happened there, right? I need to be more on top of things. I'm sorry, I had a busy week. It was crazy, but I gotta let you know, I am the Viking donkey. That's the nonsensical Viking donkey. Thank you for that. Yes,
You're welcome.
Sure, we can go with that.
You're welcome.
That as Viking_donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of donkey with Ginger is the channel where you get to have all this nonsensical talk that we do. Leave us a like, comment, follow. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you like the new name for off-season talk, because we're just going off the rift. We ain't prepping anything. We get back to the season, we might prep some stuff, because we actually have to talk about stuff. But until then, Gingy's going to keep it nonsensical and tell you how we end it.
Mutant Gingy in the house. We hanging out. We playing games. We talking that ball. Nonsensical donkey, huh? All
Hey,
right.
you said it, and it just sounded right.
All right.
All right.
All right. All right. Here we go, Steelers.